It is 2 o'clock in the morning, and the house is completely silent. You wake up thirsty or needing to use the restroom, navigating the dark hallway with heavy steps. You reach the bathroom, blindly hit the light switch, and the sudden artificial glare floods the cold ceramic tiles. There, trapped in the unforgiving brightness of your artificial sun, is a creature that looks like it belongs on another planet. It is small, flat, and covered in a metallic silvery armor that shimmers under the bulb. Before your brain can even process what you are looking at, your hand is already reaching for a rolled-up magazine or a heavy shoe. Be honest with yourself for a moment about this late-night encounter. Do you have messy, humid corners in your bathroom where you blindly crush any living thing simply because it startles you? Many of us act as ruthless dictators in our own homes, executing harmless creatures just because they do not pay rent or look traditionally cute. But before you bring down that shoe to end a life, you need to understand that you are making a massive ecological mistake. You are not just killing a random bug, but erasing a living fossil that holds a secret older than the continents themselves. Furthermore, the real reason this metallic intruder is patrolling your floor is tied to a microscopic war happening in your house right now, and by killing it, you are actively helping the enemy. If you have spent years believing the widespread myth that these insects are dangerous parasites that crawl into your ears or spread devastating diseases, you are not alone. Society has taught us to fear the unknown, especially when it scurries across our floors at lightning speed without making a single sound. We label them as dirty invaders, associating their presence with poor hygiene or an impending infestation of biblical proportions. The reality, however, is that this tiny, shimmering creature is entirely misunderstood and utterly defenseless against you. To understand why it is there, we have to travel back in time, far beyond the construction of your house, beyond the first humans, and even beyond the existence of trees. You are looking at a creature known commonly as the silverfish, though its scientific name speaks to its love of starches and sugars. But what makes this insect truly astonishing is its age, which defies almost all logical comprehension of survival. Silverfish were crawling across the damp earth over 400 million years ago, long before the first dinosaur ever took a breath. They survived the splitting of supercontinents, the catastrophic impacts of meteors, and the freezing temperatures of global ice ages. When the world burned and the oceans boiled during the Great Dying, an extinction event that wiped out over 90% of all life on Earth, the silverfish simply kept crawling. Knowing this, it feels almost arrogant that we believe a simple plastic slipper is a fitting end for a creature with such an invincible biological resume. Their anatomy has remained virtually unchanged for hundreds of millions of years because evolution realized early on that it had created a masterpiece of survival. They never bothered to evolve wings because they never needed to fly away from their problems. Instead, they developed a streamlined, teardrop-shaped body covered in overlapping, slippery scales that make them almost impossible to catch. If a predator manages to grab them, those silver scales simply slide off like fine dust, leaving the attacker with an empty grip, while the silverfish glides away into the nearest crack in the wall. But this is only part of the story, because their movement is a spectacle of evolutionary engineering that deserves our attention. Have you ever watched how a silverfish moves across your bathroom floor when it thinks it is being hunted? It does not walk or run in the way a beetle or an ant does, with rigid mechanical steps. Instead, it seems to swim across the dry porcelain, its body undulating from side to side in a fluid, fish-like motion that earned it its common name. It navigates the vast dry deserts of your home like a stealth submarine, using highly sensitive antennas and 3 distinctive tail appendages to feel the slight shifts in air pressure caused by your breathing. Now, perhaps you are sitting there thinking, this is all very fascinating, but why should I care about an ancient bug if it is trespassing in my shower? That is a completely fair question, because nobody wants uninvited guests wandering around their most intimate spaces. The answer lies in a fundamental misunderstanding of what a house actually is, from a biological perspective. You see your home as a sterile, sealed box, isolated from the chaos of the natural world outside. But nature does not recognize human property lines, and your house is actually a complex, thriving ecosystem filled with microhabitats. Your bathroom, in particular, is the equivalent of a lush, tropical rainforest hidden inside your walls. Every time you take a hot shower, you are generating massive amounts of steam that settles into the microscopic pores of your tiles, your baseboards, and your drywall. This moisture creates the perfect breeding ground for things you cannot see with the naked eye, like destructive mold spores, mildew, and thriving colonies of fungi. Left unchecked, these microscopic invaders will slowly consume your home from the inside out, damaging the structure and releasing spores that can severely impact your respiratory health. And this is exactly where the night shift clocks in to begin their tireless work. The silverfish in your bathroom is not there to bite you, because its jaws are far too weak to even scratch the surface of human skin. It is not there to spread disease, because it spends its entire life obsessively grooming its metallic armor to stay perfectly clean. It is there because it is a dedicated silent cleaner that feeds on the dead organic matter and fungi that you desperately want to get rid of. Those little alien creatures are meticulously grazing on microscopic mold spores, dandruff, dead skin cells, and decaying matter that accumulates in the damp, dark corners of your house. They are your biological security system, working the graveyard shift completely free of charge to keep your miniature indoor rainforest from becoming a toxic fungal swamp. If this realization about their true role as silent guardians of your home has surprised you, consider subscribing to the channel so we can continue uncovering the fascinating truths hiding in our own backyards. Together, we can rewrite the narrative for nature's most misunderstood creatures and replace our irrational fears with genuine curiosity. We have spent far too much time fighting against the natural world, instead of trying to understand the intricate, unseen systems that keep our environments balanced. By simply learning about the secret lives of these insects, you are taking the first step toward becoming a more conscious and observant steward of your own habitat. To truly appreciate the silverfish, we have to look closer at the intense, daily drama of their survival in your home. Life for a silverfish is an endless, high-stakes stealth mission through a hostile environment completely devoid of natural sunlight. Imagine being a creature the size of a pumpkin seed, navigating a colossal maze of towering wooden furniture, vast synthetic carpets, and sheer vertical cliffs of painted plaster. Every vibration in the floorboards could signal the approach of a giant, stomping human foot, or the terrifying rush of a vacuum cleaner. But humans are not even the most dangerous threat lurking in the shadowy corners of the hallway. While you sleep peacefully in your bed, epic battles of survival are playing out beneath your floorboards and behind your washing machine. The silverfish is constantly being hunted by genuine apex predators of the indoor world, such as the lightning-fast house centipede or the cunning cellar spider. When a centipede locks onto the scent of a silverfish, a terrifying chase ensues in absolute darkness. The silverfish cannot fight back, as it possesses no venom, no stingers, and no aggressive instincts whatsoever. Its only defense is its hyper-awareness, relying on the tiny sensory hairs covering its body to detect the microscopic change in air currents caused by the lunge of a predator. In a fraction of a second, the silverfish must execute a flawless evasive maneuver, utilizing its slippery scales to literally slide out of the jaws of death. It is a desperate race for survival, a microscopic action thriller happening just inches away from where you brush your teeth every morning. Knowing this, it seems incredibly unfair that we often treat the silverfish as a villain, when in reality, it is the ultimate underdog just trying to make it through the night. It is a fragile survivor in a world full of giants and monsters, armed with nothing but its ancient instincts and its shimmering, fragile armor. But the truth is much more interesting when we examine why silverfish sometimes leave the bathroom and venture into our living rooms or libraries. Silverfish have a highly specialized digestive system capable of breaking down complex carbohydrates and starches that most other animals cannot process. In the wild, they would feast on fallen leaves, decaying bark, and the sticky residue left behind by other insects. But when humans started building houses, manufacturing paper, and using natural glues to bind books and paste wallpapers, we accidentally created a 5-star buffet for these ancient foragers. We brought the forest indoors, processing the wood into beautiful books and family photo albums, and the silverfish simply followed their natural food source. This is why you might occasionally find one slipping between the pages of an old, forgotten novel in a dusty attic. They are not acting maliciously to destroy your memories, they are simply identifying the pages as broken-down tree fibers held together by delicious, starchy adhesives. While a massive infestation could potentially damage antique books, a few stray silverfish are rarely cause for alarm, acting merely as indicators that a space is becoming too humid. If you want to discourage them from browsing your personal library, the solution is not to spray toxic, neurotoxic chemicals all over the spaces where your family and pets breathe. The secret to managing any indoor ecosystem is simply altering the environment so that it no longer supports the specific creature you want to discourage. Silverfish desperately need high humidity to survive, as their prehistoric bodies lose moisture very quickly in dry air. By fixing a leaky pipe, running a bathroom exhaust fan, or placing a small dehumidifier in your basement, you are peacefully communicating to the silverfish that it is time to move on. You are changing the climate of your indoor world, and the silverfish, being a master of survival, will naturally migrate to a more suitable environment without a single drop of poison being spilled. This approach transforms you from a fearful exterminator into a strategic manager of your home microclimate. It requires far less effort than constantly hunting them down, and it preserves the delicate, invisible balance of life that exists within your walls. It is a harmonious solution that respects the ancient lineage of the insect while maintaining the comfort and integrity of your human dwelling. To fully grasp the magnitude of their ancient lineage, we must take a closer look at what the world looked like when the very first silverfish emerged. Picture a completely alien landscape, a time known as the Devonian period, spanning roughly 400 million years ago. There were no birds in the sky, no mammals roaming the plains, and certainly no human beings to build bathrooms or invent light bulbs. The land was just beginning to turn green with the first primitive plants, and the air was thick, humid, and heavy with oxygen. In this primordial world, the ancestors of our modern silverfish were already scurrying across the damp earth, carving out a niche that they would fiercely hold on to for eternity. When the first towering forests of giant ferns eventually grew and then collapsed into the swamps that would one day become our coal deposits, the silverfish were there, quietly feeding on the decay. When the mighty dinosaurs arrived hundreds of millions of years later, shaking the ground with every colossal footstep, the silverfish remained safely tucked beneath the rotting logs, completely indifferent to the giants above. And when the devastating asteroid struck the Earth 66 million years ago, plunging the planet into a prolonged, freezing darkness that starved the dinosaurs to death, the silverfish merely burrowed deeper. They fed on the dead vegetation that blanketed the dying world, turning an apocalyptic tragedy into an absolute feast of survival. This immense timeline should completely change how we perceive them when they accidentally fall into our porcelain sinks and cannot climb out. You are not looking at a cheap, disposable bug that deserves to be washed down the drain with a blast of hot water. You are looking at one of the most successful designs in the history of organic life, a true masterpiece of biological persistence. Their simple, wingless bodies represent a perfectly balanced equation that evolution solved millions of years ago and never felt the need to correct. They are the ultimate testament to the phrase, "If it is not broken, do not fix it." Furthermore, let us delve deeply into the fascinating mechanics of how they actually navigate the complete darkness of your home without ever making a sound. Unlike many modern insects that rely heavily on complex compound eyes to see the world, the silverfish has relatively poor vision, perceiving mostly just the difference between light and shadow. To compensate for this, they have evolved a sensory system that is astonishingly precise, transforming their entire body into a highly tuned environmental antenna. The 3 long filaments trailing from their abdomen are not just for show, they are incredibly sensitive appendages covered in microscopic hairs that can detect the absolute faintest shifts in the air. If a predator approaches from behind, or if a human raises a foot, the displaced air pushes against these microscopic hairs long before physical contact is ever made. This triggers an instantaneous neurological response, bypassing the brain entirely and sending a direct command to the legs to move immediately. This is why it seems like they have supernatural reflexes when you try to catch them. They literally felt the air pressure of your intent before you even moved your hand. It is a biological early warning system so advanced that modern aerospace engineers study similar fluid dynamics to understand how to make better sensors for stealth aircraft. But their incredible adaptations do not stop at their sensory hairs. Their very metabolism is a marvel of efficiency designed for environments where food is dangerously scarce. In the wild, or in the incredibly clean environment of a modern home, a silverfish might go weeks or even months without finding a substantial meal. To survive these long periods of famine, They have the astonishing ability to drastically slow down their metabolic rate, entering a state of extreme energy conservation. A healthy adult silverfish can survive for over 300 days without eating a single bite of food, patiently waiting in the dark crevices of your walls for a new source of starch or mold to appear. This metabolic superpower is exactly why traditional pest control methods often fail miserably against them, frustrating homeowners to no end. People will spray toxic borders around their baseboards, expecting the silverfish to walk through the poison and die overnight. But the silverfish, safely tucked behind a wall void and requiring almost zero energy, simply waits out the chemical threat for months until the poison degrades into harmless dust. By the time they emerge again, the homeowner assumes they have a brand new infestation, completely unaware that it is the exact same resilient individual simply waking up from a long, patient fast. Now, let us address another common psychological trigger that causes people to panic when they see a silverfish, which is their sheer speed. Humans have an innate, evolutionary fear of small things that move incredibly fast, a deeply ingrained survival instinct designed to protect us from venomous spiders or striking snakes. When a silverfish darts across the floor, it triggers that exact same primal alarm in our brains, flooding our systems with adrenaline and demanding an immediate, violent response. But we must use our rational minds to override this ancient primate programming, recognizing that speed does not always equal danger. The silverfish does not move fast to attack you. It moves fast because speed is literally its only defense mechanism in a world where everything wants to eat it. They lack the hard, armored shells of beetles, the venomous stingers of wasps, or the intimidating size of a giant moth. Their bodies are incredibly soft and vulnerable, making them the biological equivalent of a delicate water balloon wrapped in fragile silver foil. If they could not run fast, they would have been entirely erased from the planet millions of years ago by hungry amphibians, early reptiles, and predatory insects. Their speed is not a threat, it is a desperate, beautiful display of survival from a creature that knows exactly how fragile it is. We must also reconsider the concept of cleanliness in our homes and how our modern obsession with absolute sterility has completely warped our relationship with nature. We spend billions of dollars every year on harsh chemical cleaners, synthetic air fresheners, and toxic pest sprays, desperately trying to create an artificial environment devoid of all organic life. But true cleanliness in nature is never achieved through toxic extermination. It is achieved through complex biological partnerships and the relentless work of decomposers. The silverfish is the original natural custodian, doing the exact same job that we attempt to do with our chemical sprays, but without poisoning the air we breathe. When you allow a small population of silverfish to peacefully coexist in the hidden, humid areas of your home, you are actually maintaining a much healthier indoor ecosystem. They act as the ultimate biological vacuum cleaners, diligently removing the microscopic organic debris that can trigger allergies and feed more problematic pests like dust mites. They are the quiet, invisible workforce that keeps the hidden corners of your world in perfect, organic balance. By changing our perspective, we can transform a moment of midnight panic into a profound appreciation for the unseen mechanisms of life that surround us every single day. Let us return to those open questions we pondered at the very beginning of our journey across the bathroom floor. We asked what secret these metallic intruders carry from a time before trees and what they are actually eating in our dark, humid spaces. The secret they carry is the blueprint of pure survival, a testament to the resilience of life that has watched empires rise and fall and whole species fade into dust. They are living time capsules, carrying the genetic echoes of the ancient eras right across your bath mat. And as for their diet, they are consuming the microscopic decay that threatens to overrun our homes, acting as dedicated custodians of the dark. They are not the terrifying alien invaders our instincts make them out to be when the bathroom light flickers on in the middle of the night. They are simply an ancient piece of the natural world that has quietly adapted to live alongside us in the artificial caves we call homes. They ask for nothing, they spread no diseases, and they make absolutely no sound as they go about their nocturnal chores. They are a gentle reminder that no matter how much concrete we pour or how tightly we seal our windows, nature will always find a way to weave itself into our lives. The next time you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and flip on the bathroom light, pause before you react. Look down at that small, silvery creature frozen on the tile, its delicate antennae twitching in the sudden brightness. Do not see a pest that needs to be eradicated, but rather a tiny, harmless fragment of ancient history that has survived the worst catastrophes the Earth has ever seen. Lower your shoe, switch off the light, and let the night shift go back to work. Because sometimes, the kindest and smartest thing you can do for your home is simply leave them alone.